We officially completed our first Ironman. This is the 70.3 in Texas. It was in Galveston. So much freaking fun. I can't wait for the full Ironman that we have in Nice. Recorded as much as I could here for y'all. So we're going to talk about pretty much everything, what we did to prepare, what we ate during the trip, how Galveston was. Obviously, going to talk a lot about the race. But yeah, let's just go ahead. Let's dive into it. Let's first, talk about the road trip. I mean, it was not the best drive in the world. It's supposed to take 3.5 hours from Austin to Galveston. Ended up taking like 5 just because traffic in Houston was absolutely horrendous. The drive was really pretty when we were close to Austin. Got to see like a lot of the Texas Hill Country. Houston was gross, at least driving through. We did stop at Buc-ee's. Now, if you have not seen a Buc-ee's before, massive gas station. Going in there, it's the craziest thing you'll ever see. You always see crazy people. It's freaking packed, but they have good food, clean bathrooms, and we got ourselves some turkey sandwiches for the trip. I mean, these turkey sandwiches are phenomenal. But a few hours later, once we finally got through Houston, pulling into Galveston, I mean, here, not the prettiest scenery until you at least get to see the water. I mean, the water was great. The weather was phenomenal the first day that we got there. We ended up dropping our stuff off at the Airbnb and then immediately heading down to the Ironman Village. Probably something that we didn't have to do, but I was just so damn excited to get there and really excited to check everything out. Walked in, the merch everywhere. We saw that they had the maps blown up for us, which was really cool. I mean, the run looked crazy. It was a maze. I hated how it was laid out. We got a little bit of a sneak peek through the schedule. And then your boy had to hit up the merch shop. I spent too much money, got myself this little hat here, and had to take a picture, of course, in front of it also. We were getting in our push-ups to get a quick little pump in for the picture. But afterwards, headed back to the Airbnb, decided to get dinner with the girlfriend. We went to Yelp, looked up the best restaurants that there were in Galveston. Just one downtown. It looked good online, but then we get there. It's I don't want to say it was bad, but I mean, it was like a 4.8 on Yelp in Galveston. And if I got this food in Austin, I would have been pissed. But Galveston food, I'm sure it's fine. Downtown Galveston was actually pretty, which I was a little surprised about. And they also had this nice little pier thing. We didn't have a chance to go on it. We were excited to. It drove by it, but I mean, yeah, the main street that you had driving down along the ocean was a really nice view, especially at night. But got some groceries for the morning, had breakfast the next day. This is what we ended up eating a ton of. English muffins, eggs, turkey bacon. I actually love this, and I'm going to start eating this more often now. Then afterwards, we decided to drive over to the beach so we could get a run in. This is the day before the race. I really haven't worked out much at all this week, trying to make sure that we are fresh. And yeah, I mean, I recorded every pretty thing that we could find in Galveston, which was about 2 to 3 streets. This street had some really old looking houses that were pretty. I mean, the weather was great. Pulled into the beach, paid about $15 when we didn't need to park. I was going to swim in the ocean, but the waves were freaking nuts. And yeah, let's get a little run in. You can hear from yours truly. We are 21 hours out. Did not work out at all yesterday. About to get attacked by a bunch of birds. We're going to go run a mile, swim in the ocean, maybe run 2 miles. Something really light and just get the body moving and get ready for tomorrow. Got in a super light run. I mean, it was just a mile down the beach, a mile back. I was going to swim, but like we said, the waves were insane. You get a little bit of a sense of it here. I was just sending up a prayer that the waves weren't going to look like this for the real race the next day. And then after we got everything done in terms of our light little 2-mile workout, we headed back to the Airbnb, showered, took care of some work, and then went down to the bike check-in. Now, this is when I started getting really nervous. 2 days out of the Ironman, I was so excited. The day before, I was terrified. A lot of it had to do with like the equipment that we had to be monitoring. I mean, I had to be making sure that not only was my bike all good, nutrition was all good, that I understood all the rules. I mean, we had to go to like a little athlete debriefing, and it was just overwhelming. I didn't know what was going on. We had a bunch of bags when we didn't need any bags. It was just really confusing. And next race, I'll have a much better understanding. But then after we did all the athlete debriefing, checked off the bike and everything, then headed out to dinner. Dinner the night before the race was actually phenomenal. Now, I usually eat like a pig regardless, but especially the day, I mean, pretty much the week leading up to the race, I was pigging out nonstop. So, I mean, as an appetizer, we got a seafood platter. I got a bunch of seafood with some mac and cheese. Then for our entree, we got some more pastas. We were eating pasta pretty much the 3 days prior. And then we got a banana pudding for dessert. Usually I don't eat dessert, but I figured get as many carbs in before the race as we possibly could. And then that was it. We went back to the Airbnb, watched Godfather, and tried to go try to go to sleep as fast as I could. But I mean, it was pretty difficult to sleep. I was really nervous that night. But next morning, waking up at 5 a.m., whipping up breakfast here. I mean, we are making eggs, turkey bacon, English muffins, trying to get as much salt, as much pepper in these as possible. It was actually really good. Like I said, I actually ate this for breakfast this morning. We're back in Austin now. I'm going to be making these more often. I really never done it. But yeah, I mean, here going to the race, girlfriend, I told her to just record absolutely everything she could. I don't know if you can tell, but I mean, I was just extremely nervous. I realized the morning of that I didn't do what I said I was going to. I said the day before that I was going to watch some YouTube videos and see if I could figure out how to change a flat tire on my bike. As it's embarrassing. I'm sure anybody else doing this race, they knew how to change a flat tire. Your boy sadly did not. So, I mean, walking up to the starting line, I was watching YouTube video trying to figure out how to change a flat. I came away with the realization that if we got a flat, we are going to be absolutely screwed. Now, we did crash the bike. We'll get to that in just 1 second, but we got lucky enough. But yeah, the morning of, this is like 6 a.m., I want to say. It is a zoo here with everything. I'm going through, putting all our stuff down, having to go back and forth with my bike, making sure that all our running stuff's there, all our bike stuff. Obviously, we're starting off with the swim. But then afterwards, walk down with a girlfriend to the start of the swim. I don't even know what I was feeling. I mean, I was extremely nervous. But it transitioned a little bit more to a nervous excitement because at this point, there wasn't really anything else I could do to prepare. It was just like, okay, we're doing it or not. If I forgot something, I forgot something. There's no reason in stressing about it now. Whereas the day before, it was all nervousness, no excitement. Here, it was a combination of the two. Now, what I was really worried about, I never swam with like other people in the open water. So I was worried about like getting trampled in the swim. So what I ended up doing is I ended up going to the very back of the line. So I was there with the old ladies. I was there with, the slowest group. And what was funny is the race started at 7 a.m. All the fast people went out immediately. There were like 2,000 people doing the race, including the relay people. So I didn't get to jump into the water until like 7:50, almost 8 a.m. I don't know exactly when I did, but I mean, we were standing in line for like an hour. So this is going to bring up like a bunch of different issues that we had later on in the race. The swim itself went well. I mean, there were no waves in the water. It was pretty much best case scenario. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Now, I was probably with too slow of people, so it was hard to navigate in the water. I wasn't good at monitoring like where I should actually be swimming. So there were a few times that I got off course and had to swim back on course, but it was my first time ever doing it. I think for the real Ironman in Nice, now that we've had this practice, we are going to be a lot better. But we got out of the water, ran over to the bike. Transition wasn't too bad at all. I mean, we didn't have to run too far. And then, yeah, hopped on the bike. We didn't forget anything. We put our nutrition in our pockets. We got our sunglasses. We got our helmet. We got our socks on. Really, nothing went wrong here. And this is what I was most worried about, is just all the equipment and crap that we had to monitor. So, yeah, got on the bike, and I was freaking cruising. Weather was perfect. It was supposed to be like rainy and windy. It really wasn't. It was somewhat cloudy, just enough where, I mean, it wasn't like the sun's beating down on you. So, I mean, it was perfect there. While it was a little windy, I mean, it wasn't nearly as bad as I was prepared for, at least mentally. I mean, it was beautiful. And since I started off with a slow group of people swimming, I maybe have passed 100 people on the first half of the bike. I mean, I just stayed in the left lane. I don't know if a single person passed me. We were going like 22 miles an hour and we are just zooming by. But catastrophe hit. We had a bad thing happen where we fell off the bike. So let's cut over and let me tell the story real quick. So I was cruising, like I said, freaking crushing. I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, not that we're going to win the race, but we're going to have a respectable time. I thought there was a chance we were going like sub 5 hours. I was so damn excited. Then about the halfway mark, I desperately need water. We're all out of water, but I realized from the first aid station, there was an aid station every 14 miles. The first one, they gave you like a water bottle, right? And I thought I was going to be able to like sip it. And I thought I was going to have a little bit of time and then I could throw it to the side. But then like the trash zone came up where you only had like a minute or two with your bottle while you were on your bike riding before you had to get rid of the like empty plastic bottle because I didn't have anywhere else to put it. And obviously you can't just throw it in the ocean. So the second aid station, I was like, okay, I'm going to have to get this bottle. I'm going to have to dump it in my little tube thing in front of me as quick as I can. So we actually have this water going forward. The high school kid that was volunteering, pretty much all the volunteers in terms of like handing out waters and crap, they were just high school kids being nice, right? Didn't unscrew it for me. And it was one of those like nipple bottles where it's like a little tiny tag where you have to go through and you have to like pull the small tag around, then unscrew it, then open it. So it was a big ordeal. It's my 99.999% my fault. I'm just trying to come up with any excuse. So we are sitting there on the bike like this in our little arrow position, holding like a big water bottle, trying to unscrew it, driving by the aid station, trying to do it fast so we can dump the water and toss it over. I lose control. The bike starts going crazy. There's a guy standing on the side just because it's like an aid station area. I don't know what exactly he was doing. It's not his fault at all. It's 100% my fault. But his like bike tire was out a bit. I swerve, like hit his bike tire, then swerve back. And I'm going fast at this point. I'm just trying to zip by this aid station. Take a tumble. I fly from my bike. It was like, it's such a bad, I mean, we have some boo-boos from it. Like you can see this is, I think 3 days later from the race, bruised everywhere. I thought when we crashed, I sat there like for a second because I had so much adrenaline that I thought I was like, okay, I'm seriously hurt and I just don't know what it is yet. But I realized like 10 seconds later after I like checked all over myself, I was like, okay, I'm fine. I think I can keep going. I just have scrapes and bruises all over me. But the bike was destroyed. I don't want to say destroyed. That's a little bit of an exaggeration. It has scratches all over it now. The chain was like stuck between the derailleur and the frame, which, like I said, I couldn't even change my bike tire coming into this. Like I don't know how to get an inner tube out and pump it up with a CO2 canister. I'm clueless with the bike. Thank God we were at the aid station because I'm sitting there and I like run over to like the girl managing it. Because there were supposed to be mechanics at every aid station. She's like, okay, the mechanic's not here. Let me radio him over and see when he can get here. So I'm like, okay, crap. I thought I was just going to get a awesome time. Now I'm going to have to sit here waiting 30 minutes for my bike to get fixed. Like kind of my race is over if they can fix my bike. Cause she tried doing it and she couldn't fix it. And then like halfway her, like talking to the mechanic, trying to figure out where he is, get him to come over. Somebody else on a bike, about like 2 or 3 people, I mean, pretty much anybody who was riding by was like, hey, you need to call 911. There was a massive crash a mile that way. And like everybody freaking out that she had to call 911. So she leaves me with my broken bike, obviously, as she should, runs over to figure out what's going on, calling 911, getting the ambulance over. I'm stuck with like some high school kid trying to fix my bike. I popped the tire off. I'm able to actually fix the chain, which God knows how I did that. I couldn't be happier. And I managed to get the tire back on, which is a hard thing for me to do, as embarrassing as it is to say. And then we hit the road again. It was like a 15-minute hiccup. But what sucks is since I started like with the slow people, I maybe passed 200 people on the bike. I don't know how many people I passed on the first half of the bike. I mean, it was an absurd amount. But as I stood there with my broken bike, I was just seeing them pass me, right? Because I'm just standing on the side doing nothing. So then we have to like repass them all. It's kind of embarrassing, right? And then, yeah, we get to transition. The bike wasn't too bad. I mean, the swim took 45 minutes. The bike ends up taking like 2 hours and 55. I think if we didn't crash, I think we could have saved 15 minutes, but coulda, woulda, shoulda, right? I mean, it's my fault, and it is what it is. But then we hit the ground running, literally and figuratively, with this run. I was hauling ass. I mean, I start the run. I feel great. On the bike, I was really conservative. I was monitoring my heart rate, making sure we didn't go over 155. On the run, I'm sitting here going, okay, yeah, I can run 13 miles. No problem. I don't think I'm going to hit some wall. I do this all the time. So I'm like sprinting. I check my watch. My heart rate's at like 177, which I never train that high. I always train my heart rate in like zone 2, like around 150. And I essentially put my watch down and go, okay, I'm not going to look at this because it's going to mentally freak me out. And I sprint the run. And I run it in like a 7:15 pace. I mean, crushed it. I felt like we still had some left in the tank. I mean, we were able to sprint the finish line and everything, no problem. We were able to start working out again 2 days later. We drove back from the Ironman. Felt like we had a decent amount left in the tank. And yeah, I mean, now we know, I think we can push it a little more aggressively on the bike next time. Of course, hopefully we don't crash this next time. But the run went fantastic. At one point, like halfway through, my quad started spazzing. So I thought we were possibly going to like, I've never had cramps before, like cramps that like you have to stop a run or stop a workout from. But it felt like how a cramp would start. Like my quad was spazzing when we were running. So, I mean, I was just chugging Gatorade and chugging waters at the aid station as much as I could possibly get down. And then I can't even tell you how many running gels, can't even tell you how many carbs we had during this entire race. But yeah, we finished with a 5 hour, 25 minute time. I had no idea what a good Ironman time was. I had no idea what a bad Ironman time was. I was super happy with what we ended up doing. I mean, we got 7th in the run out of like 150 people in our age group. So, I mean, I was extremely happy with that. And yeah, you can hear our instant reaction after the race.
Just finished the race. Had a big crash on the bike. Outside of that, swim didn't feel like exercise, felt like torture. The water was disgusting. Bike, I was flying, and I mean literally flying. It was going like 22 miles an hour. And then I crashed because it was my fault, but someone handed me a water bottle and it wasn't open, and I was like trying to do the little thing and had a brutal crash and fall. The bike broke. Took like 15, 20 minutes to fix. Got some boo-boos. And then got back, fixed the bike. I was afraid the race was over. I thought my bike was broken for good. Fixed the bike. Killed the rest of the bike. Then started the run and was flying. I went like at a 7:20 pace, or maybe even less than that. And that was like 7th in the men's 25 to 29th. So super good. Finished. Do you know what my time was?
No, but I can look later.
Could have been, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, but should have been 15 minutes faster if it wasn't for the crash. But I peed myself a couple times on the bike to save time to make up for it.
But overall, I mean, it was just an incredible experience. Had so much fun. And now I have a ton of confidence going into Nice as well. This is going to be something I'll probably make an entire video about, but like, I mean, I was really nervous going into this race, especially the day before. I mean, I was being an ass to my girlfriend. I was just in a pissy mood. I was a wreck. But after this, I feel like my mindset's changing, where I'm not just going to like go to the race in France and like try to survive or try to just finish. I think we're going to be able to go to the race in France. And I think our mindset is not, let's win this. I understand that would be very unrealistic, but I think we're going to go and say, okay, let's go sub 11 hours. Like, let's go for a really good time here. It's extremely motivating in terms of like how we're going to be training over the next few months as well, leading up to it. Because we felt so good in this, especially if we didn't have our crash. I mean, obviously woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I mean, without that crash, God knows, I think we could have gotten like a 5:10 in this for our first one. If we just understood the swim a little bit better and started closer to the front, maybe we could have shaved off another 5:10. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we're going through and just listing every excuse we can possibly think of and thinking of how we can try to get better for the next time. But super confident going into the future. Really happy with how this race went. And now I think we can actually set ourselves a solid goal. I think it's unrealistic to think that we can qualify for Worlds this year. I don't think we can do it. I mean, I don't want to say we can't, but I think it's unrealistic to set that goal for this summer. But I think for 2025, if we train seriously, it's very much in the cards for us to qualify for Worlds, which that's going to be the new goal. And I'm going to be excited to work towards it. But ton of fun. Appreciate you sticking with me. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, continue to keep you posted.